What's happening, my people? Is this mic on? Hello. Okay, I do believe the mic is on. I see it moving right there. Jesus Christ, man. I gotta tell y'all this before I start. I might watch 3 in a row. It depends, because I kind of want to watch one of the Escaping Ordinary videos, so I don't want to take too long. I do want to watch maybe Rich Dad Poor Dad, but that wouldn't go with like sort of the theme of today, right? Really, just all of today, because my God, man, I've I've been taken aback for some reason. Like this shit really just hit me when I was watching this fucking. I was watching the podcast today of not the one that came out today, but it was the podcast with Bobby Azarian, right? It's like I tell people, I told my boys, right? I mean, they don't really watch Joe Rogan. Felipe, he's like, maybe my boy Felipe, maybe he's watched him a little bit, but Bobby. Well, maybe I can't press my space bar because my space bar and my I key is broken. But dude, I suggest that you guys go and get this book, man. If you're into the same shit that I am, which is, I mean, I'm into, unique stuff. But it's like, wow, dude. The link on the shit sent me directly to this book, to his new book that's coming out. I don't even think it's out yet. It's actually not even fully out. I think it just redirects you to this, which is The Romance of Reality: How the Universe Organizes Itself to Create Life, Consciousness, and Cosmic Complexity. Which, oh my God, everything that they talked about in that podcast, like to a T, man, and I gotta look at the camera more. Everything that they talked about is what I like love to learn about. It's what I love to talk about. Is what is like the most important things to me, It's like that is that intrigues me the most. Those are the most intriguing questions of all time, most important, most interesting. I think it is the most mind-blowing shit ever. And I'm glad that somebody like that exists, who's like Bobby Azarian, who, he's interested in this stuff just like me. And that made me feel good, because I now know that I'm not the only one that sees these things, and they try to look at the bigger picture, and they try to sort of formulate it all together in a way that only a human really could. Right, is when you look at all the overarching themes, you try to look at the big pictures of what's going on. I even asked this question yesterday at the end of one of the videos that I reacted to, is what are we doing? Like, let's look at the tendencies and the shit of life. And my God, man, everything. Let's talk about consciousness, and how open systems work, and how that came about, how that came to be. It's like, what is the universe possibly trying to do? It's like all of that shit that I've conceptualized, but I didn't even have any prior knowledge about. I've just conceptualized it with the limited knowledge that I did have. Now I have even more knowledge after watching this. And it's like, well, see, I wasn't stupid. Like, it makes me feel good, because I'm not even a scientist. I don't even research that science shit, but I could like see the overarching theme. And it was like, that's what I feel that is, right? It is just like, it feels like you do have a more, it's very beautiful picture. I guess it's just I have a bias towards it, because it's not necessarily like beautiful, but it makes sense to me. It makes sense from a scientific standpoint. Also, I hope shit doesn't go out, because it's like storming, bruh. I know y'all hear that, bruh. Y'all probably hear that. I don't know how good this mic is at picking the shit up outside. But enough of the long ass intro, man. We're gonna try not to pause it too much. Who am I? That's the video we are watching today. The Philosophy of Alan Watts. And if it seems like I want to burp a lot right now, it's because I'm like still drinking my protein shake. Because I got to get that protein in there. Anyway, let's get straight into it. Who am I? Am I the ego
that contains the mind? Am I a descendant of an alien race that long ago set foot on Earth? Am I created by God?
That last one is an interesting question.
The English philosopher, writer and speaker Alan Watts believed that the most important question a human could ask is this: who am I?
Is he really a philosopher though? He's more of an entertainment philosopher. What do he called it?
Of Eastern philosophies, like
because he is just an interpreter of other philosophies.
He tried to solve the riddles of human existence. Because it seems different.
So because he's not creating his own unique thing, I don't know if I can necessarily say that he's not a philosopher, because really he's just like me. It's what I'm doing. I'm like Alan Watts in that way, and that's why Alan Watts is one of my favorites. I love him. I love listening to the lectures. I love all of it.
Who we aren't.
Of
Which
that
was
Eastern,
compared to the
philosophy,
inability
mysticism,
to
whatever.
bite our own teeth. He uses similes and metaphors to bring his points across. In his lectures, he emphasizes that we are much more intertwined with the universe around us than we think, and that the separateness between us and the outer world that our minds perceive is, in fact, an illusion. So we could ask, what is this illusion? And if I'm living in an illusion, then who am I? This video contains reflections on the thoughts and philosophy of Alan Watts in regards to who we really are and who we are not.
Yeah, Alan Watts is big on that, in saying that everything that's not just is just an illusion. He loves
When
that.
the mind perceives the world, it implies a certain separateness from the world. The sky, the traffic,
This is
people on
true.
the streets,
A lot
everything we
of
see
I brought up
seems
the
to be
guy in
outside
the
of-
beginning because a lot of what he said, I didn't link that. I did actually think about it for a reason. Is a lot of what he said, it reminded me of everything that Alan Watts teaches about Eastern philosophy, and they even mention it in the video, like the Taoists, and that whole yin and yang theory and everything that they talk about and how they see, like, how did they fucking figure it out all 2,000 years ago? And then they give a theory about how, when they meditated and they were connected and they had this sort of intuition, and it's like they figured it out thousands of years ago. Science is now confirming a lot of the shit, and I mean, it reminded me of Alan, and I instantly was like, I gotta go watch some Alan Watts
What's happening
content.
outside of us, at least the way we perceive it, is actually happening within our minds. Without the mind, there are no colors, no smells, no sounds, no feelings of touch.
That we could
Now,
perceive,
this
yes.
doesn't mean that the whole universe is located in the skull. When it comes to location in a three-dimensional space, the things we perceive are indeed located outside of the skull.
Yes.
So the skull is located within the world that it creates. And this creation of the world happens inside the skull.
Yes.
So we see a symbiotic relationship between our minds and the world. Both cannot exist without one another. If we would remove the human mind, then the world as we know it will collapse in an instant. There may be other worlds left, like the world of dogs, that's dominated by smell, or the world of flies, that's seen with many eyes.
Yeah, they have
But
crazy
our
eyes.
world will be gone.
Absolutely.
This also means that without anything to perceive the universe itself becomes irrelevant.
It's dull.
Imagine that
It's
there
not
are
as
no
exciting.
beings or things in the entire universe that possess some form of consciousness, even if it's just through waves or touch. Then the universe wouldn't be there, because there's nothing to take notice of it.
Right, and
There's
to
nothing
realize
that
its
knows
its grandiosity, and to like study it and to see it for what it is. It's just like motherfuckers don't really contemplate that. I mean, you telling me my dog is contemplating the universe? It's like that is so awesome that I can do that. I am so kind of, as much as the shit that comes along with being a human. Honestly, I would kind of just take it. I would take it just because I can experience this, man. It's awesome. I love it. I love it.
Anything is there. And if someone or something would object against this idea, then that would mean that there's at least something there. Something to have this idea and something to object against it. Because of our sense of separateness,
That's true.
many have come to believe that we are not part of our environment and that we are somehow guests in this world. And that when the earth was still lifeless, suddenly intelligence was thrown into it and started to develop. This intelligence could have come in the form of fluids or vegetation.
Fluid.
Started to spread around the dead planet and turned it into Earth as we know it. Alan Watts has a different view on this process. He states that we are actually coming out of these dead rocks, which means that there is no true separation between intelligent life and rocks. A formerly quote-unquote dead planet has given birth to human life in the same way that an apple tree gives birth to apples. We tend to think that we're somehow above these rocks and even above the trees, the plants, the animals and the rest of our planet.
Of course.
But according to Watts' ideas, that would be
Because
the
we
same.
are one of the most open systems. I noticed when the people they were talking about it in the podcast that I listened to, it's like you take in as much resources. That's why the second law of thermodynamics does not apply, wherein it tends to have a tendency towards chaos and, entropy and randomness, like things in the universe. There's chaos, right? But that's for like closed systems, he says. Like open systems that can like intake shit, and they're like fuel taking systems, like what I talked about yesterday, like a car, right? Like we eat things to keep ourselves going, and we are sort of trying to find a, like, what do you call it, like non-chaos, the opposite of chaos. I'm not gonna
as an apple thinking it's above the apple tree. Yes, our bodies are more complex, more sophisticated than the sand in the Sahara Desert or the water in the Pacific Ocean.
Are they though?
But at the same time, we're entirely dependent on what we have contempt for. Without water and sand, we wouldn't be.
Yes.
So we, as human beings, are basically the fruits of the universe, gifted with an extraordinary ability to be conscious of the universe.
That's true.
Think about the universe, talk about the universe, and so forth.
That's 100%
As Watts puts it, through our eyes, the universe is perceiving itself. Through our ears, the universe is listening to its harmonies. We are the witness through which the universe becomes conscious of its glory, of its magnificence. End quote.
Listen, everything that he said, the cognitive neuroscientist in the guy that I searched up, he'll confirm all of this. He's not lying. He's not wrong. This is true. That's crazy. That's absolutely bonkers. Like I guess it hasn't hit me yet. Like, let that hit you for a moment, right? Like, you'll sit there, you'll take that, and maybe you're not really processing what you're really hearing there. Because it's just like, could you really? Could you really comprehend that? Like, it's incomprehensible, bro. I mean, it's like, I do, because, well, I've been listening to Alan Watts for like a little bit now, and it's just like, he said that a bunch of times. But it's like, this is it right here. Through our eyes, the universe is perceiving itself. Through our ears, the universe is listening to its harmonies. But that could be like any life. We are the witnesses through which the universe becomes conscious of its glory, of its magnificence. Yes, that is true.
Of its glory, of its magnificence. End quote. Now, what's the illusion? First of all, according to Watts, the idea of a separate self is an illusion, because we're all part of one big manifestation. We're products of change, like waves are part of the ocean, coming, going, and changing into other forms of existence. We could say that we are walking, talking bundles of happenings, or events, that are intertwined with the happenings around us, and there's no central soul or I. This is what the Buddhists mean with no self, and such a concept is, ironically, very difficult to grasp for a mind that thinks in concepts, as it implies that, in reality, what we see as a separate soul, for the lack of a better word, is actually something borderless, something uncontained. As humans, we do not only separate ourselves from the rest of the universe, we also try to make sense out of the universe by creating categories, concepts, definitions, ideas, etc. But to categorize something implies that we hold on or cling to something. We basically select a certain part of the manifestation, build a cage around it, and give it a name. But that's not how the world works, because as soon as we think we grasped it, it has slipped through our fingers. Therefore, concepts and ideas are only secondary. They are pointers to how things work, but are not in themselves how things work. As soon as we have named the unnameable, the thing we think we have named has already changed. For example,
what?
We give a name to a child, but
what does that mean? As soon as we have named the unnameable, the thing we think we've named has already changed? Huh?
For example,
what does that mean?
To a child, but the child is not the same child anymore.
Okay.
Compared to the moment we've named it.
Because he's grown up.
We hold on to that name for years.
Well, for the sense of self, because it's easier.
The child, even though
it's just like if I've called that motherfucker for 10 years, I've called him Charlie just because he looks different. I'm not gonna call him Paul. because he's probably not gonna respond to Paul. He's not gonna like that because I mean, throughout all of those younger years, especially because you know those younger years, that's when they're really fucking just like sponges and they soak it all in. They're soaking in that information, and that's when it really gets, you know, lodged in there. If I start calling that motherfucker Paul when his name has been Charlie, like you know, he's not like nobody's gonna like that. I mean, his birth certificate's gonna say Charlie, like,
to ongoing change.
but I get what
and
he's saying.
eventually transforms into a different person.
Yes.
Thus, we see the world in concepts: Chinese, Dutch, communist, capitalist, republic, monarchy. We have created all these rules for each other based on these concepts. The way we should think, the way we should speak, the way we should live our lives and relate to each other. Who we are, who they are, what we stand for, what they stand for. Most of us can't look beyond this giant web of ideas anymore, thinking that this is life.
Could you really
So,
expect
when
us to,
someone
though?
asks,
Are we
"Who
supposed
are you?"
to?
Most likely, the answer is based on a concept rather than on reality. I'm an accountant.
Well,
I'm a
that's a
woman.
simplification.
I'm an Englishman. I'm a philosopher. But if we look closer, do these words fully entail what we are?
No.
No, they don't. At most, they describe certain features that we can discern, but they're not the full story.
Yeah,
There are all
but
these things
yeah, but you know, also we don't want to use too much cognitive resources, and to tell that whole story would take up a whole lot of time and energy. So it's just better off that we simplify it. But then again, I get what he's saying because well, he's not wrong. We're much more than that. This motherfucker's playing the social game, the lawyer.
missing, overlooked, generalized, as our perception
I'm a
of
lawyer.
things is
I'm a teacher.
constrained by the senses.
I'm a
This
cop.
man-made construct of ideas, categories and concepts with the purpose of defining what cannot be defined is what creates the illusion.
So the illusion is the
Now, who are we?
concepts that we create.
Well, what we can say is that we go beyond our illusions, but words are not sufficient to describe who we are.
yeah, and I hate
The
that
Tao
because that
can
is
be
kind of
named
true.
is not
Language
the
is very
eternal
limited.
Tao. The name that can be named is not the eternal name. Or as Watts stated, the menu is not the meal. Our attempts to find who we are the reason
Tao.
why we cannot find it. We can't define the undefinable. We cannot make the impermanent permanent, meaning that even if we would have the words to describe exactly the nature of things, as soon as we have written them down, things have already changed. So it's no surprise that regardless of his detailed explanations of human nature, his similes, his metaphors, Alan Watts doesn't provide a definitive answer to the question, who am I? Other than
God. But yes, he does do that. He has like a thing. I don't know if does he do that in the actual lectures. Like I've never actually seen a video of him in the lectures, but I hear that there's like people like laughing in somewhere. So I know there's like people actually there live, and he always does that. He's just like, well, reality isn't what you think it is. Reality is, it's a happening. It's a play. It's not the, you know, like quick rundown. It's not the what is it? Mechanical? No, not mechanical. Engineering worldview, right? The ceramic worldview, right? Like this world is a painting made by a painter, might infer a supreme god, sky daddy in the sky sitting on a throne. It's not like a sculpture made by a sculptor, right? And it's not any of this, whatever, right? It's a play, mostly, right? If we're gonna use concepts, which is an illusion, but we can't do anything but use concepts anyway. So he's gonna do his thing to try to translate it for us. So our concept we're gonna use for this is, in a word, a play. It's a play, right? And it's a happening, and it just plays, right? Like there's no purpose to it. Like when you're dancing or making music, the purpose is not just to get to the end of the music. You know, it's not just to get to the end of the song, because the person who got to the end of the song the fastest would be the best one, right? He'd be the best artist. He'd be the best composer. He could just get to the end of the song the fastest. Like that's not what you're really trying to do. Of course, maybe, you know, you want to give off a certain mood, a certain type of thing. You're trying to give off a certain message. Sure. But I like more of like the dancing. It's like think of a wave. What's the purpose of a wave? It's just waving, right? What's the purpose of a cloud? It's clouding. Right? You know, when you're dancing, you're just dancing, right? And it's like a play. It's like, well, it's a happening. And it's like that sound, right? Think of that sound. It's just a sound that is being emitted. That is what reality is, because you can't put it in words. I mean, he's gonna try to anyway. He's gonna give you ways to try to understand it with language that's familiar to you, but it's not any of that, right? Because it's probably not gonna be anything that you can really conceptualize. It's just gonna be this. This is the best way that I can give it to you. Is this happening of this gong sound, right? Like that. That's right. It's just I see what he was going with it. That's the end of the video. Einzelganger. I need to hear him say his name, because I'm gonna butcher it every single time if I don't know how the fuck it goes. Like, I'm gonna 100% fuck it up. I hope you know that. I hope you know that. I'm gonna fuck it up every single time. Sorry about that. Anyway, man, that was that. Who am I? The philosophy of LMOs. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hopefully, you guys love that. Damn, I really wish I was more engaged in that video. I feel like I wasn't engaged enough. I'm just like still taken aback, man. That fucking podcast. That shit's gonna sit with me, bro. Oh my god, I thought I was the only person who ever saw that, who ever like looked at it that way. Cause I told you I conceptualized that myself, and I feel like I never had any reason to conceptualize that because I didn't hear anybody else talking about it. I didn't like get it from anywhere, but it's like now I have, and it's like, dude, I just. Anyway, man, let me know what you guys think. Who are we, right? Who are you? What is your ego, right? Who are you really, right? Are you your ego? Are you, look at that, 3 layers of the self of your identity? But I might watch this one next. Depends. I'll see. But anyway, man, hope you guys have a great one, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Make sure you subscribe, like, all of that if you feel like it.